First thing we're going to do is we're going to draw up a huge room. Now, I'm taking this session as understood on the basics of ArtiCAD, drawing up a room and clicking render and changing materials and things like that. So I won't be going into depth into how to draw the room and things like that. We have a lot of sessions already covering that and a lot of resources available on our website. So I'm just going to use the keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to start off with a 2-meter wall. I'm going to do a little alcove where I'm planning on sticking a slider. So let's go maybe 800 deep. T for turn, I'm going to stick in a 3-meter wall, turn again, 800 for another wall, B for back. When this is going to be a huge room, turn again, we'll have 4,300. I'm going to stick a door in. We'll go pocket doors, because the one thing I forgot to say as well, I am planning on sticking an ensuite into this design. So we're going to have a second room, how to add extra rooms, really useful. And turn again, go 4 meters, stick a window in. I'm just going to do quick basic windows over here. They're not necessary, I just thought it would break up the room a little. Square off the room, turn, we'll have 2,800, standard door, and join. Now don't worry if you didn't follow on with that part, you weren't meant to. I just wanted to get a room drawn up as quick as we can so that we can move on to the actual bedroom specific parts. Right, first things first, let's start with regular wardrobes. We click on base units. We've got all our different options down here. Under the wardrobes category, the one that you're probably going to use more than any is wardrobe. So we click OK, and we've got our options as you expect with all of our usual cabinetry, width, depth, height. So I'm going to make this 1 meter wide, and it's going to double door it for me. I also have the options of full carcass or frame only. So if you're doing frame only, all you have to do is tick this button and you get frame only here. You also have some basic internals as well, full hanging, double hanging. I'm going to go into internals in much more detail than that, so we'll get onto that later. Going to click OK, pop it in, and these work just like all the other cabinetry in ArtiCAD. Drag and drop, position where you want, snap to corners, and so on. For corner robes, they have their own category, so instead of being under wardrobes here, they're down at the bottom, corner robes. You've got right, left, and L shape or diagonal. I had a diagonal put in my house, and it only just cleared the ceiling by about 0.5 centimeter when we tried to put it up. So let's go for a corner. So a blind corner. Click OK. You've got the same dimension options. Also worth pointing out, if we go back to this one here, when you're in here, if you click style, you'll frequently have more options. If I go into here, I've got different drawer pack options where I can have drawers at the bottom. I think there's also a double door one that I quite like. So there's absolutely hundreds of these. You can filter them as well. So that we've got like drawer options and things. If we want just a single drawer, maybe I'll stick with that 5 drawers, quite nice. Yeah, we'll go with that. Click OK, and that's going to update that for me as well. We can see it in 3D for you. So that's the really quick and easy way. I do often get asked, oh, what if I want wardrobe doors on top and then drawers on the bottom? You can also go into customize, and you can click remove to remove drawers. You can click insert to add doors and drawers. So like if we were to remove this one, click OK. All I've got to do is make sure that on my top one, I click filter top, and that's always going to make sure that it's going to fill the remainder. And I can actually just keep going through going, yeah, let's get rid of this one. Let's get rid of this one as well. I can make a custom layout this way very quickly. You can also, in customize, click on one, click edit. I can change the height manually as well. So if I wanted a slightly larger one here, let's say this is 300. And because I've selected the top to be filter top, it's always going to just fill the remaining gap for me, which is quite nice. Click preview. And we have the other useful options. Add Cornice, scribe to ceiling, has Plinth. My Cornice I've actually got set to be hidden by default because I don't use them very frequently. And I'll show you how to do that quickly. So let's just pop that in the corner, snap that onto it. We go to this design, attachments, Cornice, click change. And this is where you find your different Cornice profiles. So I have mine set to hidden because I don't want one in this design. And then you can click set as default if you never have a Cornice or you very rarely have one and you'd like the defaults to be hidden. There we go. Let's pop another wardrobe in. So I'm going to go standard wardrobe, 500 mil will do. I can also choose the hinging manually if I want as well. Like this one, let's say that I definitely want it left-hand hinged, because otherwise the bed might get in the way a little bit when you're trying to get into that one. And speaking of which, let's stick in a bed. Now, we have lots of options for beds. We can go into ArtiCAD, we can search bed, and we have updated these relatively recently. So we used to have under bed, here we go. We used to have just a handful of them, and they've chucked in a load more. So there's even a full poster if you're looking for it. You can also use SketchUp objects as we have in the past, and I'm going to touch on them. And what I recommend for anyone who's doing bedrooms regularly, if I go to my favorites, I have something called bed kits, or just beds on their own when I want them. And what I do, if I load in this kit, for example, it loads in a bed with just a couple of accessories. I've already chosen fabrics I like and things like that. I have a feeling that this one is actually quite a vulgar fabric. Let's have a look. F2 for preview mode. There we go. So you've got this lovely red and blue check tartan. Wonderful. So that's how you do these if you want to. Just, you can save, I've got a Bob Ross painting on the wall. We'll leave that there. So that's how you can highlight a whole item, a whole selection of items. Just drag your box around, right click, and go add to favorites. And that can be really handy for dressing a room quickly. Let's stick in another wardrobe. Wardrobes have shortcut keys as well, just like all the other items. W for wardrobe is a quick shortcut, gives me a wardrobe. Let's stick that on the end. And let's be a little bit cheaty now. I want to do some top boxes. So be under wall units, top cupboards. Obviously, loads of different options. I can also go into here and I could choose style. And I could choose to have like a flat door, different openings, all of the usual stuff. What I want to do, however, is I need to know how big they're going to be because I've stuck this big bed in. If I right click and go measure line, my cursor will snap to the corner of this unit. I can drag it all the way over so that I can see the whole distance. Down at the very bottom of my screen, it says horizontal, vertical, and then distance. That's my measure line here. So at the bottom, it says distance equals 2595. So for my top cupboard, my distance I'm spanning is 2595. Obviously, I can't make one gigantic top cupboard. So let's say that that's 3. So I can type divide by 3 into this box, press tab, and it does the maths for me, which is quite handy. Now I'm going to stick this over here. Press F9 to duplicate. And one more time. And there we go. 3 top boxes, nice and easy. That's my cheaty way for when I just know I want to fill the gap. So that's how you do your standard wardrobes. Sliding wardrobes are even easier. If we go into base units, wardrobes, and then sliding. So when we get to these, we have loads of options. And this is the only time really throughout this whole thing that I'm going to recommend that you just familiarize yourself with the different options available. They have loads of, each one of these options has further options within it. The one I use more than any is probably this 3-panel sliding option with variable height panels. You'll also note when you install further catalogs from our website, it does also stick those into here. So if you're using a particular manufacturer, this is where you'd look for them. But if we're starting with this one, click OK. We now have loads of options for this. First of all, the width, and this is the width of my whole carcass, or the recess even. It's the width of the whole space it's fitting in, which I very conveniently for myself made 3 meters. Now, if I click preview, you'll see that I've still got the same size doors, but I've got this 3-meter carcass. It's because the opening width needs to be changed as well. Let's say that I want to have a 100 mil filler on either side. So I'll go 2,800, and for the filler, if I click split, that will split the remainder on either side. Click preview, we can see what that looks like. Click OK. I tick scribe to ceiling, put ceiling scribe on. And now I also have these options. Number of doors, 2, 3, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 3 doors on, so we've got a meter per door. And then for each different door option, I have colors. So my middle panel, let's swap that to color 2. I'm just going to swap the middle panel on all of them. You can also click more, And this allows you to change the color on every single panel patchwork-wise, which is really handy. If you're doing something where you actually did have a patchwork effect, you really could, or checkerboard even. When I go into materials, those different material options show up here: sliding door 1, sliding door 2. So my top option is Wenge, and my middle option is chrome, so mirrored. And I'll leave that as that. You also have these options. If I tick single panel on door 2, you can preview what that does. It adds a full panel door instead of the 3 panel. But I like it all separate. So let's take these, click OK, and then drag this, and it just snaps the whole thing into the alcove. I'll have a quick look in 3D. F2 again for that preview. We'll fly over here. And instead of removing that single panel, I accidentally added an extra one. Who saw me? Who caught me out on that? I didn't realize I did that. There we go. Perfect. So the important part now, interiors. If I go to this design and then room settings, we have this option here, remove unit doors. And this will allow me to see inside of the units. Again, if I go F2, I'll give you a quick look. And it literally just chops the fronts off. All the doors disappear. Now, to do my interiors, I have numerous different options. The one I recommend, or the one I use more than anything, is we go to Accessories, Interior. INT is a shortcut if you ever want to use the shortcuts. From in here, let's start to expand these options, and you can see just how many there are. There are absolutely loads. Different manufacturers add their own. We create loads more, and they're all different parts. Sometimes it'll be an entire interior. Sometimes if we go to the top, it'll just be a shelf, a belt and tie divider in this case. Absolutely tons for you to get to grips with what it is that you need the most frequently. Personally, I find the clusters are very helpful. They're all adjustable in size and shape and material. So for example, let's take something like this, internal cluster cube. So I've got shelves on one side, and then I've got hanging on the top, and I've got a hanging rail on the bottom here as well. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to make this really easy for myself. I'm going to set the dimension, the width to 1000 mil, because I know I've got a 3 meter gap. I'm going to drag this down here, pop it onto the end, and then using F9, I'm going to duplicate it. Now this one on the end is facing the wrong way. So I'm going to highlight it, press F1 to edit, click OK, and where it says shelves on, I'm going to swap them to the right. So the shelves are now on the other side. For this middle segment, I'm going to press F1 again, and I'm going to select double hanging, which from experience I know is internal cluster B. Now if we go quickly into 3D, you can see what I've done there. So it's really quick to make up things like this. Obviously, you can put in dividing panels, support panels. They're exactly where you'd expect them. They're under under fillers, tall end support panels, where all our end supports and all our fillers and things go. So you just stick those in there in order to split it up if you're putting them in as well. Entirely up to you. Here's something that I find incredibly useful. I'm just going to drag this out of the way quickly. I'm going to highlight all 3 of these and go to tags. Tags are so underrated. You can use them for so many different things. If you click to manage tags, I'm going to click add and call this interior options. I'm going to make a new tag group. Click OK. And these 3 that I've got highlighted, I'm going to take these and go change each item's tag to interior options. In fact, my mistake, I need another one. Interior option 2. You can probably see where I'm going with this. Now that these 3 are all in a group, I've got the option to click the eye, which is going to make them hidden. Or in this case, I'm going to highlight, Control-C, Control-V, and get a second option. Highlight these, right-click, change each item's tag to option 2. So now let's hide option 1, drag option 2 into place. I'm going to go in and say, actually, option 2 is to have full hanging across the whole thing. In fact, I can just delete them and press F9 on this one. Yeah, we'll duplicate that one across. So what I can do is I can go into VR mode. Oh, I could be sensible and pop the wardrobe back into place. Then I can go into VR mode. And using my tags groups, I can say, okay, this is option 2. This is empty. And this is option 1. So I can get all of the different options available. In fact, you probably noticed I didn't actually pop these in. Let's turn off those. There's no accounting for user error. Change each item's tag to option 2. There we go. So now I can flip between option 1, option 2, option 1, option 2. Really handy. We're going to say the customer's gone for option 1. It had a bit more variety to it. Right, let's quickly pop our doors back on. This design, room settings, include unit doors, and get onto the complicated one. And it's really not that complicated. So if we go to Home, and then Accessories, and Special, which is the picture of the armchair. In here, we have this option down here, ceiling wedge with Velux window. You also have top wedge if you don't want a window in it. I'm going to stick a window in, so we'll go for this one. We've got height off ground, which is pretty self-explanatory. Width, I'm going to make this 4 meters wide. Depth and height, this is what will change the size of the wedge and the slope of the ceiling. So if I change the depth to, say, 2000, and then we preview, you'll see we've got a much more gradual slope than if we were to have that set at 1000. I hope that shows well enough. I also have to choose the size and positioning of the window. So distance of window from start, let's just make that 1200 instead of 200. And because I want to put some angled wardrobes in that corner. And then I've got the size of the window. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And this is quite a useful one, masked sides. If I look at this at the moment, it's just a slope. But if I click masked sides, it's going to pop the sides on for me. And that's going to be handy because I'm going to have the side visible down here. To position it, it's like everything else. It spins to the walls. When your cursor goes over the blue line, it snaps into position. And then what I need to do for this wall is I'm just going to press F1 and change the height of it to 1400. I'm also going to turn off the ceiling coping. The reason for that is because I want there to be nothing behind the window, so I'm going to make the wall shorter. If we go into 3D, we should be able to see that. Let's spin around. And there we go. So we've got our window and we've got our slope. Time to start putting in angled wardrobes. Go back to the home. And these are not what everyone clicks on. Everyone goes wardrobes, angled wardrobes. Click on wardrobe. It's the first one at the top. Click minimize on the little minus next to generic. And the category beneath is angled cut. We've got right hand, left hand with flat top. And these 4 items will help you do the whole thing. So I want left hand. Click OK. In fact, let's make that 600 mil. Click OK for now. I'm just going to pop it in, and we're going to have it here. In fact, I'd also like to stick a little filler in. I'll go for a tall filler. It doesn't need a ceiling scribe. And again, I'm going to make that, say, 1500 high, just so it's a little bit shorter, so it's not going to stick through. Right, this is going to go here, but if we have a look in F2, it's not going to fit to begin with. It's going to be sticking into that wedge. It's going to be the wrong size. In fact, you can even see it sticking through the window because it's too big. So all you do is from your home page, there's the magic wand right up at the top here. If I click on this here, go to Tools, and then Useful Wizards. Grab yourself a pencil, because you're going to need one at this point, and there's Calculate Side Height of Angled Robe. And this is a lifesaver, and I don't have a pencil, so I'm going to have to memorize it. I had a pencil, oh well. And first it asks the height of our wedge, so that's a meter. The depth was also a meter, and then the wedge height off ground was 1400. My unit is 600 mil wide, and it's 100 mil from the wall, from the start of the wedge. And this graphic really does explain it all. Click OK. And what it tells me is my short side is 1500, my long side is 2100. So I'm going to click OK, click on here, and I've got, so which is my short side? My right side is my short side. Also, I'd like the hinging the other way around. So right hand side is 1500, and my long side was 2100. However, I'd like to have a filler panel at the top, or scribe at the top even. So I can just type minus, and then let's do 150. And again, press tab, it does a sum for you, minus 150. And that's going to take the same amount off both sides. And then we can have a quick look. And there we go. We've got it fitting. In fact, if I right click on the door, that'll make it more obvious. There we go. This mode, of course, doesn't handle shadows or lighting or any of that jazz. It's just really basic in this mode, the preview. But we will be doing a pretty picture of this room, and it will be huge. Next, wardrobes, standard wardrobe. And again, we go down to angled cut, but this time I want one with a flat top. Click OK. I'll go for 600mm wide again. Apply new size. And we click OK. Pop it into position. And so first things first, I can notice that I've got 300mm of flat top. So I'll just double click, and where it says size of flat top, 300mm. Obviously, that's not always easy to eyeball like this. This is just quite obvious because it goes through the center of the X. But again, if you right click, measure line, you can use that measure line trick to measure exactly the distance if you ever need to. Because it'll snap to the corner of the wedge, and then it'll snap to the corner of the unit. It says distance that equals 300 down at the bottom there. So we go back to utilities, tools, useful wizards, and calculate side heights. So this time our wedge height is 1000, our wedge depth is 1000, it's 1400 off the ground, the unit is 600, but it is now 700 from the start of the wedge because we've got 100mm filler and a 600mm unit before it. Click OK. Short side 2100, long side 2700. So we're going to stop at 2400 because that's our ceiling height, and that's why it's flat top on there. So we'll double click, go into here. So my long side is standard, so 2400. Again, I want to take off that 150 for my scribe at the top. That's an optional thing. If you want to do all the way to ceiling, you can. Good luck putting it up, I guess. And then it was 2100 again, minus that 150, 1950. Now if we go back into 3D for the final time for this. So we've got a flat top, we've got our side part, and it's also got those scribes perfectly for me, which is quite nice. Easy peasy. So we have 3 different types of wardrobe, all squeezed into this room. This is huge. It's like an American loft with such a weird mishmash of items. Let's try to make it look prettier. Dressing tables and things like that, that was next on my list as well. Let's stick in a dressing table. So these are all where you'd expect them to be. We've got base units, we've got actual complete dressing tables, or if you want, you can build them yourself. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'll make it a little hard for myself. We've got different cupboards, cupboard options, bedside unit options. In this case, I'm going to have a medium drawer chest. So I'll choose a chest drawer. Just as before, we can click customize. We can go in and we can change the height of every single drawer if we want to. We can also change the style of the drawer. We can change the color of each one individually. And if I click style, that's going to give me predefined drawer pack layouts as well, which is quite handy. I'll leave it on 3 drawers for now. Let's make it 500 wide, fine. I'm going to change the depth. Let's go 600mm deep. And why not? We'll stick with 784mm for the height of this drawer. Is that an industry standard? I don't know where the 784 comes from. Let's stick that at the end here. We'll put a little desk area over here. Next, I'm going to need a worktop for this because at the moment all I've got is a shelf. So if I go into accessories, and then I have desktop right here, and I can choose the width and the depth. So let's say that this is 1600 wide. We'll make it a huge desk. My cabinets are 600 deep, so let's just go 700 on that. And I can also, if I want to, put radii on them as well, so I can radius off the end if I want, things like that. And why not? It looks pretty. And I'll just drag that over the top of here. Let me just check height off ground. That was handy. Set the height off ground to 784. Clever how it does these things. I'll have something supporting this end. Let's go into, let's go end shelves. And let's have a medium spindle end right. That looks cool. Wow, this is going to be a very popular desk. Who wouldn't want this? We'll take this, stick it on. Oh, and also I'm going to want to change the depth. We'll go 600 mil deep. Pop that into there. Might drag it in just a little bit because of that corner. Have a quick look in 3D. You know what? It's not too bad. This is quite old-fashioned, but why not? Let's start dressing the room up a bit better. Maybe a shelf, custom shelving. So one of the quickest and easiest ways to do a custom shelf is simply to use a box. You type box, and you can do just about anything with these. I've used these for doing stairways. I've used boxes for doing sunken baths stuck in the floor. I've even used them for doing patio, and I did a garden that way as well. The cubic box is your friend. You can really make a lot with it. Let's do, it was 2595, my top box gap, wasn't it? Let's do this under the top boxes. We'll say it's 250 mil deep. Let's just make it 30 mil thick, and then 1600 off the ground. And if I preview this, oh, not helped, if I preview, I think by default it's set to brass. I don't think I want a brass shelf, so I'm going to go materials. And let's use the Egger library for this. I'll go into MFC decors. Let's just choose a nice wood grain. And that'll do there. Lovely. And I know I skipped through that quite quick for the materials. We're about to do materials in depth. So I thought let's pop that into here. And if we look over at this, at our bed, there we go. So we've now got a custom shelf floating above the bed. Right, material editing. This obviously is part of the standard ArtiCAD, so I won't go into too much detail. But what is quite handy is the ability to do just the items you want to. So let's say I want to do all of this with the exception of the sliding wardrobe. I can drag a box around them, highlight the lot, and if you want to remove things, you just hold Control, click on them, and it'll start to remove them. Like if I don't want to edit the bed, or if I do, don't want to edit that. That's one way to select extra items. If you saw my version 22 webinar, you'll know that I recommend using the tag groups for this. As you're going along, you can add items into particular groups so that you can just very quickly, by clicking the button next to them, say I just want to change my top boxes, I can click this button here and it just highlights my top boxes. Tag groups are your friend. They're very handy. Let's remove that. Perfect. And the bed. Now, if I right click and go edit materials, this is going to allow me to change just what I've selected. So for example, where it says carcass, it says differing materials because I've dragged in stuff from all over here. Let's have a bit of uniformity across that. So for my carcass, let's use the Egger library. These are available free of charge from our website. Obviously, if you're using a particular manufacturer, their stuff will go in here as well. So you can actually choose their materials. I'm going to go in. Let's have their wood grains and things. For carcass, actually, I might just go for, let's try and do it a little bit more simple, maybe. Let's go for a grey carcass, the most popular colour in the world at the moment. And then for the doors, maybe something a bit cooler. It's chromics. That's kind of cool. I hope this is going to look good. I have no taste. This is the part that I'm not so good at. I can also then do my room settings by clicking Material at the very top, and this is going to allow me to change the entire room in one go rather than just selected items. So I'm going to click Surface, find my floor, and I think I'd like some custom floorboards for this. If we go to flooring, I've got some big wide planked floorboards I think I'd like. Perfect. And is there anything else I'd like to change? My wall, I'm happy with that as neutral 20, but my wedge is a different color to my wall. So let's change that as well. Let's go neutral 20. Perfect. And if we go quickly into 3D for you to have a look at what we've got so far. Perfect. So that looks a little bit better, I'd say. We're getting there. Now we just need to dress the room up, make it look beautiful, add on an ensuite. Only a few small things to do. Let's go for the ensuite next. So you'll notice I didn't draw the room out with an ensuite in mind. This is where it's going to go. You can do this after the fact. All you do is click on the door, click the magic wand, tools, useful wizards, and then add another room. So helpful. And then you bring up another diagram box, dialog box, which lets you set the size of it. So we'll say that on the right-hand side, should we do it all the way to the edge? We've got 1,400. And then, yeah, let's just leave it 200, 500 and 2,000. Perfect. So there we go. We now have our ensuite. I can also select the door, and sometimes it's helpful to right-click and choose what you want. So I want the door, not the arch. Press F1, click OK, and I can now tick this box, open door. And that's going to open the door for me. And because it's a pocket door, it's slid to the side. If I go into 3D, we can see into our bathroom. And there we go, we've got an ensuite. The question is, how do we put toilets and baths in, despite the fact that we're in the bedroom system? If you go to the search box here, or you can obviously just go to sanitary, which is where they're kept. If you can also go to the search box and you can search for things like WC, and you're going to get toilet bases and all your toilet options down here as well. But I didn't realize it was so easy to find. So let's go through sanitary. Let's start off with the toilet. I can choose from a handful. Obviously, not as many options as you'd get in our BedCAD system, which comes with a few hundred toilets to choose from. But this is enough for you to give good representation to your customers. Let's go for a back-to-wall toilet. Click OK. Pop this in. And let's go to sanitary. We'll go for a shower. I can choose from different tray styles. I can change the width and the depth. So let's say that this is much bigger. Preview, lovely jubbly. Click OK, drag it into position, and there we've got a shower. Ensuite's nice and easy. You also can click on your wall and you can change your material settings as well. So if actually I want to have tiles on this wall, all I do is go to wall tiles, choose what I'm looking for. Let's have some metro tiles. They're very popular at the moment. Click OK. It's going to tile my wall for me. Next, what do we need to do next? We need to make this look pretty. So let's see, we've got a desk over here and we've got no extra items to make it look good. We can use the ArtiCAD library for this. We've actually started adding more accessories. So if I search chair, used to be that we had these chairs to choose from. There are new ones. It's always worth searching through to see what came in with the most recent updates. So we've got a handful of new chairs. Let's have some sort of cool office chair like this. Click OK, drag it into position. To spin, I like to just drag to the wall that it's going to face away from. That's how I organize these things. And then I think we'll use a SketchUp model for a laptop on the top. So for SketchUp, we go Help, SketchUp Warehouse, and it's going to load up the SketchUp library for us. Let's search laptop, and this is free of charge for you to use. I click models, I get a load of different laptop options. Click download, choose SketchUp 2020. It's called Untitled, very creative. And then I go to Home, SketchUp, and then find that download on my computer. So let's right click on that and rename it quickly. We'll call this laptop 1. Click OK, and it copies it across to my ArtiCAD folder. When it loads up, I have to tell it which way is upright and facing me head on. So I would like it this way round. If I drag it this way, it will be very wonky when I put it in the world. You've got to make sure it's upright and facing you head on. Upright? That looks it, yeah. You can also change the dimensions at this side if you wish, and you can choose whether or not you want a detailed plan graphic. If you're doing something incredibly detailed, like a model with 90,000 polys because it's a bed with ruffled covers and things like that, I recommend unticking this box. But otherwise, it's really helpful for choosing the orientation of things. So generally, when I can, I like to leave that ticked. My height off ground is 784 plus 30, because that's the thickness of the worktop I've got. And I can preview it, and I have put it in at an angle. If you accidentally do that, just click reset, spin it back around. There we go. And it's just going to update. Click OK. Pop it in. Drag it to position. And you can also edit SketchUp models materials too. So if you want to go into extra detail, you can click on it, click materials, and you can create custom materials. So this is probably our screen by looking at the color of it. Yeah. In fact, let me show you how I would do this if I was doing this myself. We'd go into 3D. I want to make sure that I want to put a picture on the screen here. I actually had a customer who used to put a TV in every room, and when they do their survey, they find out what football team was supported in the house, and then they would Photoshop a news report of like Man U 7, Liverpool 0. Apologies to any Liverpool fans. They'd Photoshop that onto the TV screen. This is how you do that. You just go into 3D, and by right-clicking in the VR mode, which is F2 as a shortcut for it, it lets you select individual materials. If I right-click on the screen of the laptop, I can then click Customize at the top. We'll go into my custom library, click New, and then click Set Texture. And I tested this earlier with a picture of my face, so why not? You click Find the picture on our website, not on our website, on your computer, sorry. And all you've got to do is tell it how big your image is. So let's say that we only want this to be 200 mil in size, otherwise it's not going to fit on my screen. You can even give it a finish if you want, so like a satin sheen. Why not? And we'll call this me. Click OK. Click OK. And now I'm on the monitor. Why not? You can do whatever you want with ArtiCAD. It's great. My next tip for dressing up the room, can't stress this enough. You can import as many SketchUp items as you want, but as you saw, that took us about 2-3 minutes to get in the laptop. Whenever you do something useful, like importing a laptop, a chair, anything that you think you'll use, right-click, add to favorites, and save it. And I end up building up things like this. So if I load this in, this is my reading rug, which is a huge rug that's got sort of like a little reading station on it. Really handy little idea. There we go. We can rotate it around as well. So let's all of them rotate. I've got a lamp. I've got a chair, coffee table with some books, and a plant to make the room feel a lot more full. In a room this size, it would feel awful without some decoration. Also for lighting, that's how I do this. My light. So, or even my 8-spot grid's a bit small for that. So if we go for 3x3, that's going to fit much better. Let's drag some spotlights in. Again, totally optional. Stick 4 spotlights into here. Position them. And let's do a little bit of a feature wall. Quite often nowadays we get asked for, what if I want to have only one wall to be a particular color or a feature wallpaper or something like that? All you do, double click on that wall, then choose materials. And from in there, we've already got some in ArtiCAD, but you could do what I did with the picture of my face, except for you can take an image from Google Images of a particular wallpaper that you want. Let's just go for something like this. It also works on all the other parts of the walls as well. Like if I click on the archway, that's got a little bit of wall above it. So again, I can go wall and choose that wallpaper. So I'll have the cream wallpaper. I'm just going to make sure that it's done it for my door as well. So again, materials, wall, collapse all, wallpaper, choose the one you're looking for. and there's only 100 millimeters of it showing, but in the interest of having everything finished perfectly, let's even do it on this wall over here. So cream wallpaper, okay. Hop into 3D, and we're getting there. As you add more and more complex SketchUp items into your design, it might take a little longer to go into VR mode because it's got about 50,000 polygons to render now, as opposed to the previous 400. But once it's in, you can move around just as fluidly as ever. This is another great reason to use the tag groups. You can highlight all of your accessories, put them in a tag group, and then for quick design editing, you can just hide them. It allows you to pop in and out of your preview quicker. So wow, that's a very different room now. We've got a lot going on. Let's move the design over here, get a better camera angle. And we're getting ready to do some images now. So if you missed my session last week, this is so helpful. We go Window, Set up Camera List, click Add. We can call this View 1. Then I can move the camera, get a different angle, call this View 2, and so on and so on. And if I click on the top one, and then click Start Background Batch Render, go to my desktop, we'll call these webinar images. I can choose the render quality that I'd like with the resolution. Then I can also choose the quality of the actual render being done. I'll do them on low, on a little medium, not very high, seeing as where we're actually, we've got a lot of other things to do. So let's get a couple of renders going. And the great thing about this is these two renders now, they're going to start and run in the background. So I can continue with what I'm currently doing. I could then also bring this whole thing through to ArtiVR, and it would follow those angles through the ArtiVR. And that is an overview, a very brief, quick overview. I managed to squeeze it in so we've got time for Q&A of the in-depth features of everything that's in BedCAD. All you do, you click on it, click OK, click Materials, and then we have door 1, 2, and 3. The way that you know which is which is they start at the bottom. So door 1 is the bottom, door 2 is the middle. In this case, my top one is door 3. So I would like the handle to stay as stainless steel, or you can choose to remove the handle. And then for my actual door, where it says here door or handle, so door, instead of using this Egger white Chromix, I go into the ArtiCAD default library, click Metals and Chrome. And what that does is it changes that door only to Chrome. And Chrome is mirror in ArtiCAD. We call it Chrome, but it's literally just a perfect mirror. And I'm guessing the other question is, but what if I was actually doing a bedroom where all of the doors are shaker style or paneled style, but I have two doors or one wardrobe that is just flat mirrored? All you can do, you right click on that wardrobe, go customize manufacturer / range, and then change the range to something like a plain laminate. So if that one door needs to be flat, just change the range of that door. However, what if it was this one? Say that these two bottom ones were shaker and the top one needs to be a flat laminate so that I can do a mirror. All you do is go customize, click on the door that you need to change, click edit, and then untick this box here that says use default door, and then you can change it to a plain laminate, and that'll allow you to set it as a flat door. And what we'll do the opposite effect here so that you can see. If I go edit on this drawer, untick this, change range, change it to a shaker, click OK, and now I've got a shaker for that one. So let's imagine that the whole design was shaker. That's how you would change that one door to a laminate, just so that you can do it as a flat mirrored panel. I hope that answered all the potential questions regarding mirrors. Colored mirrors. I knew there'd be one more. If you go to materials, instead of choosing chrome, there is actually bronze mirror is an option. Oh, that's not very mirrored. Well, platinum is also an option. Click customize and click set color, and you can choose a different color and it will keep its mirror finish. So if you need to do a colored mirror, that's how you do it. Just take platinum and change a color. I think it works with chrome as well. You just click set color, choose whatever color you want, and it updates and it changes to a mirror of that shade. Will ArtiVR let you walk through to the ensuite? If you open the door, when you go to the door, you have to make sure that you've ticked the box for open door, otherwise ArtiVR will not allow you through. Setting defaults for Cornice. Go to this design, attachments, and then click on Cornice, click change, and then choose hidden Cornice. Of course, if you always do a shaker style or modern square, you can select that. Once you've selected it, you've just got to click set as default, and it will set that as your default. So next time you load ArtiCAD, you'll have either this Cornice, or if you select hidden, set as default. Next time I load ArtiCAD, I won't have a Cornice. You can do the same for pelmets, for plinth, also worktop edging. I think by default it's the pencil round, which I'm not a big fan of, so I set mine to square edge. You can do that if you'd like as well. Works for many things. Yes, anything else, do feel free to contact me and I'll help as much as I can. Thank you very much.